I don't really know what to expect here. Now, there have been conversations today that suggest that we're not done with Isak. Now, I really, like I said all the way through this summer, I don't know. I'm not the guy who's going to tell you exactly who we're after. I'm as intrigued as everybody. But right now, there are various stories doing the rounds to suggest that one, Al Hilal, who are of course 75% owned by the Saudi investment fund that own Newcastle, are looking to sign Alexander Isak. So I don't know how Newcastle fans are feeling about that story or what the likelihood of it is with any implications to our interest. But right now, Liverpool aren't giving up on Isak just yet, despite what, people might shout at me in the comments. The situation for Rodrigo is one that I'm still trying to figure out how sincere that interest is. And the Anthony Gordon stuff just isn't going to go away because he's a sincere, target for Liverpool if we lose Luis Diaz, which it looks like we could well do. Sarath Kumar said, Craig, do you think we're going in for Isak if Newcastle are willing to sell him in the next 2 years? I think the answer to whether we'll go back in for Isak will depend on how Hugo Ekitike does in his first year. It looks as if Newcastle are going to try to hold on to Isak this summer, whether it be Al Hilal's interest, our interest, or whatever. It looks like that they are trying to dig their heels in and rebuff any approach. So for us, if Hugo Ekitike hits the ground running, scores goals, has a good first season, and Jayden Danns progresses, I don't think we revisit. But if Hugo Ekitike has a measured season or a mixed bag of a first season, maybe Liverpool revisit it. And certainly, if Newcastle can't get him to extend, 2 years to go next summer feels like the time that they really have to start thinking about selling. But I stand over what I said over the last week. Personally, sincerely, no banter, I think Newcastle should have bitten our hand off to take the money for Isak for a couple of reasons. If he picks up an injury in the next, let's say, first 3 months of the season, if he picks up an injury that keeps him out for a while, and Newcastle haven't been able to bring in the calibre of backup or player alongside him that they would have wanted, I think very quickly they'll start revisiting the idea of, shit, should we have sold him? And I do think they should have. I totally get it from Newcastle fans' perspective. Of course they don't want their best players to go. But I think it would have been for the greater good if they sold him. It would have given them the ability to build out the squad more. Jamie Hall said, Hi Craig, do you think that Ekitike may be stalling and this sudden Saudi so-called bid for Isak are related? I'm sceptical about the timing and think maybe it still happens. I don't think there's any stalling on our side with Ekitike. I also don't think we're going to pull out of any deal for Hugo Ekitike, regardless of what happens with Isak. I'll be a liar though, Jamie, if I said to you, mate, that I wasn't shocked to see DiMarzio's link to Al Hilal, who are 75%, I believe, owned by the Saudi PIF. I don't really know I don't know the thought process there. I can't figure it out what the play is. Yes, they'd be able to give Newcastle a load of money, but I just refuse to acknowledge that Alexander Isak at 25 wants to go and play in the Saudi Pro League. Just doesn't strike me. And obviously he's respectful to Newcastle, and I never really expect him to kick up a fuss to get out of there because he's been treated well and the Geordie fans love him, but I don't see a world where he goes to the Saudi Pro League. He's been speaking about ambition and Champions Leagues, and I just can't see it. I can't see him going there. Even if it's for an astronomical amount of money, just feels very unlikely. What do you guys think, though? Do you think there's any chance Newcastle sell him anywhere? Whether it's us, whether it's Al Hilal, or I don't know. What I feel safe saying, Jamie, is even if we sign Hugo Ekitike, I feel like if any opportunity presents itself for Isak, we'll still be there. Could Al Hilal buy Isak, then loan him back? I mean, I don't know. Technically, I guess, yes, they could do it, but would it be challenged? Would people ask about the legitimacy of it or the reasoning behind it? I just struggle to see how they get away with it. It would be a very clear way to look like they're circumventing PSR. We've also seen Chelsea sell themselves hotels, so I don't know what to think of with the rules anymore. I don't. But I just don't see a world where if it was a genuine bona fide interest that he'd want to go to Al Hilal. I just don't see it. Sam said Newcastle embarrassed themselves thinking we would desperately overpay for Isak. Now they're left feeling bullied. Richard Hughes don't mess around. It's it's been massively exaggerated for me, Sam, the situation. Like, I think Mark McAdam on Sky probably got it about right. There's a lot of respect there between Eddie Howe and Richard Hughes, former teammates. And like I said, it was a simple inquiry, and we kind of let it be known what we were willing to go to. And Newcastle, who were perfectly within their rights to say no, said no. And Liverpool moved on. Now, it was unfortunate for Newcastle that Liverpool's next target was going to be the one that they were trying to bring in, but that's football. It's a competitive business, and just like Newcastle were perfectly within their rights to say no for Isak, we were perfectly within our rights to move on to Hugo Ekitike. So, yeah, it is what it is. I still, all bias aside, feel Newcastle should have taken the money because he's not worth £130 million. He's not. We were overpaying, but we were willing to. And I think we all believed and understood that we were overpaying. If you ask me for a genuine price tag on Alexander Isak, 90 to 100 million max. Because you can't just ignore the concerns around injury. You can't just ignore the very limited top-level Champions League action he's had. So that has to be reflected. And I think 90 to 100 million was about right. But understood that we had to probably try something silly, or yeah. Vizjack said, I think we keep Isak and he signs a new contract with the number 9 shirt. You buy Gordon and we buy Nunes in return. Not like, you probably know better than me what the chances are of Isak signing a new deal at Newcastle, mate. I don't know. If I'm him, I'm probably hanging off on that new deal to see how Newcastle's season progresses. Because if this was, let's say he signs a new deal and this ends up being a flash in the pan season for Newcastle and they don't get back in the Champions League, I think he'll then look back at that and think, So I'm not certain you'll get him to sign that new deal just yet. But look, the Gordon and Nunes thing could very well happen at some point. You'd know better than me about your interest in Darwin or not, but I know that the interest in Gordon is is sincere from us, but I have no idea where Newcastle stance are or would be with it. The rat was an error, not an insult. No, I know, mate. It's all good, all good. Nevelin, how are we, sir? Did you see the sell and buyback deal on Isak for 300 million with a 500k salary? The lease back would be at 100k. Al Hilal in the middle, both own Newcastle. So we kind of discussed it a little bit earlier, Nevelin, and I don't know if they'll be able to do that and get around the rules. Like, it would look very sus if them coming in and spending a load of dough to buy Isak and then just hand them back over. Like, it's clearly done to circumvent the rules, and I can't imagine it wouldn't be challenged. But I don't know how it goes after that, mate.